between Aston Villa and Brentford. It's a little huddle prior to kick-off, and we are all set to get up and underway here. There's no doubt that without Ivan Toney, of course, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Brentford, you feel, this afternoon, but no doubt there is everything to play for today, because I certainly feel as though Aston Villa will see this as a really great opportunity to take 3 points and consolidate their position in the top 5. And we are up and underway at Villa Park. It is Aston Villa against Brentford in the Premier League, and Brentford early on just trying to make inroads into the Aston Villa half. And certainly when you look at the games coming up as well for Aston Villa, I mentioned those 2 games against Lille and the game against Arsenal in between them, does suggest that if they could pick up 3 points today, they would be in a very good position indeed, because then they would be able just to potentially rest a few against Arsenal, really focus on that game and those games, I should say, that tie against Lille. And from there, who knows? It is Wissa with the ball for Brentford into the penalty area, and the effort on goal early doors from Brentford with less than 60 seconds on the clock. It was Reguilón who had an effort on goal. He was slid in on the left hand side, just inside the confines of the penalty area, and it was a half decent opportunity that for Brentford in the game, the first chance of the game as well, you'd say. Got into a really good position, and it's actually a really good recovery at the back. There was 1 or 2 suggestions that it could have been a penalty kick, but that's waved away by the referee. It was Leon Bailey who came across, and Reguilón it was who had the effort on the left hand side of the penalty area, and it was really well done by Leon Bailey to track the run, as Brentford has started the game pretty positively. I mentioned Wissa's a bit of a live wire, isn't it, for Brentford, and he's caused problems to numerous sides in recent weeks, and they'll be hoping to cause problems once again today. So, it is Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0 in the Premier League, and one chance for Reguilón as Leon Bailey came steaming in with the challenge. Reguilón having the first chance of the game for Brentford. So, it is Brentford on the right hand side, close to the corner flag, with just over 2 minutes play at Villa Park in the sunshine. Aston Villa in possession in their left back slot with Digne, and a ripple of applause goes around the ground as Aston Villa do themselves win a throw in. Throw in then to be taken on the left hand side. Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0. 2.5 minutes played at Villa Park, and the ground is beautifully equipped in sunshine. The fans no doubt enjoying it today. It is a wonderful historical ground for such a historic football club. Great success historically over the years. Aston Villa, of course, won the European Cup, now the Champions League, back in 1982. Aston Villa have the ball on the left hand side with Digne. Digne just assessing his options in front of him as he wanders over halfway, puts his studs on the ball and asks the question of those in front of him, and rather suggests there should be a little bit more movement in front of him as well. Aston Villa have the ball on the left hand side. It's Rodgers who cuts back inside and finds Digne just a yard in from the touchline. Here come Aston Villa with Douglas Luiz, and Douglas Luiz just offloads calmly. Now the ball is on the right hand side with Konsa. Konsa just considered going further wide to his right hand side and picking up the run of McGinn, and now it is with Leon Bailey. And Leon Bailey leftwards, it just caresses the ball back inside for Aston Villa and Konsa, and everyone behind the ball now for Brentford. Zipped in to Watkins initially, but the final pass is a little bit wayward and gathered by Flekken. So Flekken has the ball in his feet for Brentford, and Aston Villa, for the first time in the game really, were just trying to make inroads, just trying to create 1 or 2 things, but couldn't manage to do so on that occasion. A great season, hasn't it, for Aston Villa? Really, the way they played, especially at Villa Park, has been so impressive. Brentford playing themselves out from the back extremely well. Here come Brentford up and over halfway. Wissa with the touch inside, and Brentford now are purring forwards and have the ball just on the confines of the penalty area, and they want a free kick as well to Brentford, and they're going to get a free kick as well in a very promising position. It was Mbumo who goes down, and well, he's gone down extremely easily, I would say. But there was the touch from Diego Carlos on the left boot, and for that reason the Aston Villa man is penalised, and Brentford have a free kick in an extremely good position. So it is just right of centre, and it is a very good position indeed for Brentford. There'll be no shortage of takers for this as Martinez just orchestrates the wall this way and that. Free kick then for Brentford. Great position they're in as Jensen and Mbumo are the two players who might fancy this one. So 5 minutes on the clock. Free kick for Brentford in a fabulous position, and the free kick will be taken. Who has a go and finds the outside of the netting, and there are one or two inside this ground. I thought that might have snuck in. It's a nice enough idea by Mbumo, just zips it in left footed, but in truth I think Martinez had that one relatively comfortably covered. He was plunging away to his left hand side. Another half decent moment really for Brentford in the game, and it is Brentford who've had the two little sighters in the contest so far. First through Reguilon on the left hand side, and then through the free kick from Mbumo. And Aston Villa have the ball now at the back, and they pump it up and over halfway, looking towards the run of McGinn, who joined Ollie Watkins up there up front, and certainly the closer that Tielemans and McGinn can get to Ollie Watkins, you feel, the more problems Aston Villa can cause Brentford in the game. So it is Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0. Coming up to 7 minutes played at Villa Park, and Konsa just touches the ball back inside, and Aston Villa move away with the ball now in the form of McGinn. McGinn gliding inside, and McGinn just sweeps it left-footed forward, looking towards the run of Rodgers. He keeps it in play on that left-hand side, a yard in for the touchline as well. And Rodgers assessing his options and cuts it back intelligently, and now the ball floats into the penalty area. It's a pretty poor one, and it goes out for a goal kick. And it is Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0 in the game. And chances so far at a bit of a premium, certainly from an Aston Villa perspective, because there's been a certain amount of Brentford possession in the game so far. And the ball is launched up and over halfway. Flicked on by Visa, and the flag stays down. All of a sudden there could be a chance for Brentford on the right hand side, but the flag does eventually go up. And it look dangerous though from those kind of positions. Playing that top two with Mbumo and Wisa just creates the opportunity to cause a bit of havoc at times, you feel. Aston Villa have been playing a high line all season really, and they have the ball now inside the centre circle. McGinn's just trying to squeeze away, and Aston Villa do collect now, and Ollie Watkins wanted the ball played a little bit early. He's not going to get it. Leon Bailey will get it on the right hand side, pouring toward the penalty area. Leon Bailey with the step over, it's just about keeps his balance, finds Konsa. Konsa goes back inside towards Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz feeds the ball out to his left hand side, and Aston Villa coming forwards once more. Aston Villa collect the ball now midway inside the Brentford half, and it is just Torres who rolls his studs over the ball, wants a bit of movement in front of him. There is no movement in front of him, not quite sure what to do with the ball. He's had the ball for 30 seconds, I'd say now, Torres. Eventually he goes back inside, and Aston Villa will come again on the right hand side with Konsa. Konsa does gather. Konsa flicks it back inside, and could be an opportunity now for Tielemans. Tielemans caresses the ball to his left hand side and finds Torres, and Torres just creeping towards the edge of the penalty area, and Torres goes down the line intelligently, three waiting inside the penalty area. The final ball is a 4-1 from Aston Villa, and it's out of play for a goal kick, and it's Rodgers who just couldn't quite get the ball into the path of those inside the penalty area. So 9.5 minutes played. It is Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0, and so far Aston Villa probably shaded it in terms of possession, but in terms of chances, there's no doubt that Brentford have had the two sighters in the game so far. Ball is launched long for Aston Villa. Collected now on the right hand side though, and a throw in for Brentford, and Brentford will take the throw, and Issa had gone across to take it, but instead he's going to leave it for Zanka, and Zanka playing on the right side of that central defensive three today with the throw in. Aston Villa trying to win the ball back near the corner flag, but the flag is up anyway, and Aston Villa and Unai Emery's men will have a free kick from deep inside their own half. Mentioned the season that Aston Villa are having, a very impressive season, and the way in which they've performed at Villa Park has been a really key part of that. And so Brentford have the ball at the back through Flecken. Flecken, the goalkeeper, was looking left, he was looking right, just considering what was available to him, and eventually the ball is pinged up looking towards the front two for Brentford, but neither Brumo and Wissa could get on the end of it. Here come Aston Villa now on that left hand side, moving forwards with Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz just cuts inside, and Douglas Luiz assessing what's in front of him and zips it in towards McGinn, and all of a sudden Aston Villa have the ball again. Collected now by Konsa, and Konsa keeps it moving down the right hand side and gathered by Bailey. Bailey with a nice little idea to touch it inside. I think Leon Bailey will pick up the pieces here. Yes, he will, just by the corner flag, and Leon Bailey eventually pokes the ball forward and it squirms out of play for a corner kick. Corner kick then for Aston Villa. Corner kick for Aston Villa, creeping up to 12 minutes played in the game. And a corner kick in a good position as well, because the manner in which Villa played the last couple of minutes suggests they're looking to go through the gears. Corner on the right hand side is flighted into the penalty area. It's far too close for Flecken. Flecken actually got a little touch on him there, and that's certainly the Brentford goalkeeper felt that. It was a pretty robust challenge. Flecken went up, claimed the ball easily, and well, Diego Carlos, the Aston Villa centre back, I think he knew what he was doing. He just left a little bit on the goalkeeper there, Diego Carlos. Could have pulled out of that, I think, but decided not to. Flecken is feeling the full force of that. So it remains Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0 in the game so far. Now Flecken will take the goal kick. The free kick was given interestingly. It is a goal kick for Brentford. Flecken's going to take it right-footed and fires the ball up and over halfway for Brentford. Header is nodded down and is collected now by Aston Villa inside the centre circle. All of a sudden Leon Bailey's involved, and Leon Bailey just pokes it 5 yards backwards, and that's a nice turn by Douglas Luiz, and Aston Villa are purring now. Tielemans does gather in between the lines. Tielemans tries to ping it to his left hand side and does. Collected now by Rodgers. All has been played midway inside the Brentford half. Gathered inside, just outside I should say, the centre circle by Torres, and Torres goes to his left hand side and finds Digne, and now it's gathered by Douglas Luiz, and everyone behind the ball for Brentford, making it very difficult to break them down really. It's collected now at the back by Aston Villa and gathered by Konsa, and Konsa just sweeps it back inside, and it's floated forwards now for Digne. Digne just outside the penalty area, gathered by Douglas Luiz, and Douglas Luiz is heavily involved now for Aston Villa. Collected once again by Douglas Luiz, and it could be an opportunity now for Konsa to gather. Konsa sweeps the ball to his right hand side, collected by Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey so often the architect for Aston Villa, but couldn't quite find a way through on that occasion. Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0 is the score at Villa Park. Aston Villa have the ball just outside the penalty area as well. It's going to be gathered by Rodgers on the left-hand side. Finds Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz considered the early ball into the heart of the penalty area. And now Aston Villa come forward once again, and it is Douglas Luiz. And Douglas Luiz goes to Konsa. Konsa, in turn, tried to zip the ball intelligently in towards the run of Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey's not particularly pleased with one or two things, I don't think. And the ball is with Villans. And Brentford have a throw in on their left hand side. So it is gathered at the back by Brentford and pinged towards the halfway line, but Aston Villa now starting to just dominate possession slightly, and that's cleverly worked right on halfway. And here comes Douglas Luiz, and all of a sudden now McGinn does gather. McGinn tried to feed it in to his right hand side, can't quite do so, and it's sprayed out now towards the left hand side, and a chance for Aston Villa to put the ball into the penalty area. But Blecken does gather, and Blecken gathers for Brentford, and so it is Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0. And an opportunity now for Blecken to just roll the ball out to his right hand side and find Zanka. Zanka back to Blecken. Blecken inside his own 6-yard box. Just wedges the ball up towards halfway. It's not a bad piece of goalkeeping that from Blecken, and Brentford now have the ball just shy of halfway, and they thought about going more direct for the run of Wisa, couldn't quite do so, and now the ball will be launched forward towards Wisa. And was that a foul? Yes, it was. Wisa can't believe it. He just opens up his palms and looks anguished in the direction of the referee. And Wisa is penalised for the slight touch on his man, and it didn't take much for Konsa to go down for Aston Villa and win the free kick. And so it is still 0-0. Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0. 17 minutes played in this first half. Too many meaningful chances yet as well, you could say. Really, Reguilon inside the opening 60 seconds of the game had an opportunity, and Leon Bailey lunged in to create the block, and then there was the free kick from Bumo that was just wide of the upright. Aston Villa haven't really created too many clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities of their own. Taken quickly though by McGinn, too quickly for the referee's liking, and it is a free kick for Aston Villa, and a free kick in a half decent position as well, which they will take. And it is Aston Villa who have the set piece situation. Douglas Luiz is surveying the situation. Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0, the score. So plenty of bodies inside the penalty area, and interestingly there is a free kick for Aston Villa, then swept into the penalty. It's a really poor one though, and Blecken will gather with ease. And I think Unai Emery will be a little bit frustrated as we approach 20 minutes played here. He'll be frustrated that Aston Villa haven't really been able to do too much in the final third, and the ball is back now with Martinez, who just pokes it away up towards halfway. And Aston Villa have the ball now, and they're coming forwards in the form of Konsa. Konsa now to Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey on the left-hand side. Leon Bailey just cutting in field. It's going to be a throw-in, is it, for Aston Villa? No, it's not, because Brentford do keep the ball in play and come away with the ball through Collins very intelligently. It is gathered now by Damsgaard. Damsgaard inside for Wisa. Wisa tried to just get past his man Diego Carlos, couldn't do so, and Douglas Luiz now picks up possession for Aston Villa and goes to his left-hand side, and all of a sudden Aston Villa are in a very good position just outside the penalty area. Aston Villa have the ball midway inside the Brentford half. There's a continual feature in this first half with Brentford having bodies behind the ball and Aston Villa trying to find a way through. Gathered now by McGinn. McGinn goes to his right hand side and finds Konsa to his left-hand side, and all of a sudden it's gathered now by Diego Carlos, who was trying to find a way through. A bit of a sloppy ball though by Diego Carlos, and now Wissa will try and latch on the end of it, but a very good starting position by Emi Martinez just prevented anything from really occurring. And the Aston Villa goalkeeper just reads the game so well, doesn't it? Just in terms of how he is at the back, and it's now the ball with Aston Villa midway inside the Brentford half, and swung to the right hand side, and Leon Bailey tried to slip it through to McGinn, and McGinn twisting and turning, and McGinn just hangs out a leg, and that will be a throw in for Aston Villa in a pretty good position. Konsa now gathers. Konsa swings it inside towards Diego Carlos, and it is all Aston Villa in terms of possession, but with over 20 minutes played, they haven't really created anything in the game. Now it's gathered by Aston Villa at the back, and Brentford trying to win the ball back for Aston Villa. And it's a little bit messy all round, to be honest. Pretty scrappy play from both sides, and the ball is at the back now with Martinez, the World Cup winner, the Argentine. And Martinez in the sunshine just has a little look to his left hand side, has a little look to his right hand side, assessing his options, seeing exactly what's available for him. And Aston Villa still can't find a way through in the game, and in truth they've just created so little in the contest, and that will no doubt frustrate Unai Emery, because it's just the manner in which they haven't really been able to produce anything of note. And Brentford have the ball at the back, and well, it's just very scrappy from both sides, if truth be told. It's gathered now by Aston Villa, and Torres gathers and flicks it inside towards Diego Carlos, and Aston Villa now attempting to play between the lines, but Brentford once again pretty resilient defensively, and Brentford ping the ball long, and it's a half appetising ball as well. Now an opportunity for Brentford, slid through towards Wissa. It's a really good challenge by Diego Carlos. Fabulous defending from the Aston Villa man. It's one of the first times in the game really that either side has managed to get beyond the last line, have been able to carve open the opposition defence. Here come Aston Villa with Bailey. Leon Bailey gliding in from the right touchline. Leon Bailey trying to make things happen for Aston Villa. Brentford have got bodies back now. Watkins is inside the penalty area. Ollie Watkins trying to make things happen. Cuts back onto his right foot, and now it's collected by, well, it's in the end, it's actually bundled away by Brentford, and that's, can you say, it's part of the package. Gathered by Diego Carlos at the back for Aston Villa. It's all Aston Villa at the moment, and they just can't find a way through though, Aston Villa. They've had the ball in these kind of situations so often, and the game almost being played at walking pace at times. Here's Konsa 35 yards from goal. Konsa to his right hand side, and Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey potentially the man most likely to make things happen for Aston Villa. And Aston Villa have it once more at the back. And for all Aston Villa's dominance in terms of possession, haven't really been able to carve out a meaningful opening in the game so far. And I think that will rather frustrate Unai Emery, because he's got a lot of attacking quality out there, doesn't he? Just hasn't been able to make it work really for Aston Villa this afternoon so far. But is Leon Bailey the man to conjure something for this Villa side? Leon Bailey zips it in towards Ollie Watkins. McGinn with a touch. Now Leon Bailey wants it back and gets it back. Leon Bailey with a cut back, and Brentford have bodies back there to alleviate the danger, at least momentarily, because it's out of play for a corner. Well, Aston Villa playing some neat stuff out there, and they do have that capacity. When you get Leon Bailey on the ball, you just know that he's got the kind of quality to unstitch defences. He's got the kind of quality that means he can find a way through. He's got a turn of pace as well that sides find so dangerous 24.5 minutes played, and the ball is floated into the penalty area, and it's just about scrambled off the line. Well, it's a little bit messy all round, really, but somehow Brentford survive, and Aston Villa will come again, and they will come again down this right-hand side, and Leon Bailey was the intended target. And for the first time in the game, Brentford looking just a little bit sloppy at the back, and Brentford now will manage to poke it away, and it is an opportunity now for Mbumo. He's got Wisa in support, considers slipping it through to Wisa, doesn't do so, and well, in the end it's Aston Villa who move away with the ball, and McGinn has it inside the centre of the park, and it's gathered now by Rodgers, and Rodgers trying to make things happen, and it could be an opportunity again for Aston Villa. And here is Tielemans. What can he create? Plays it to Konsa on his right hand side, and it's now collected by Aston Villa, 35 yards from goal. Konsa now has it. Konsa pokes it to his right hand side and finds McGinn. McGinn left footed, just caresses it inside. Konsa once again does gather. Konsa collects for Aston Villa. Tielemans goes to his left hand side. Torres is forward in this attack, and Torres considered going on his right foot and tried to poke it through rather ineffectively in the end, and it is Aston Villa who do have the ball once again. And really the first half is following a familiar pattern, because Aston Villa have all the ball but they're struggling to create. Aston Villa now with the ball on that left hand side, and Digne and Rodgers have combined fairly well in the last 5 minutes or so. Gathered now by Diego Carlos, who just loops the ball forward looking for Digne and couldn't quite find it, but that was a nice idea, and in the end it is going to be, I think, a goal kick for Brentford. But there's no doubt that the way in which they've played has been just devoid of that little touch of creative quality, really, inside the final thirds. That will no doubt really frustrate Unai Emery, because he knows that his Villa side, when you look at Tielemans and Watkins and McGinn and Bailey, Douglas Luiz, Rodgers, I mean, there's so much quality out there, especially at home. They've been so dangerous this season. For the bench as well, there's options with Zaniolo potentially could come in, and the ball is floated up towards the back post for Brentford. Of course, there are injuries as well. Mings is out injured, and Ramsey, and Buendia too. Look at the Brentford lineup and the options they got on the bench, and Tony is on the bench. I mean, the understanding is that he's picked up a knock and he won't play today, but we'll wait to see. More play as well is there. I think it'll be too long. If Tony's got 20 minutes in him, you'd love to see him get out there on the pitch, wouldn't you, for Brentford this afternoon. So McGinn does gather for Aston Villa inside the centre of the park, and it's gathered now, and Ollie Watkins gets a touch on it and goes down. Ollie Watkins wants a free kick, and he's going to get a free kick as well, and he's going to get a free kick in a magnificent position. And well, the Brentford players are surrounding the referee, because they really don't feel as though that was a free kick, but well, there's protestations ongoing, but it is going to be a free kick, and a free kick in a good position for Aston Villa, just outside the penalty area. So it is a free kick for Aston Villa, in a good spot as well. Free kick in a very dangerous position. Villa yet to have an attempt on target in the game so far. Will that all change here? And Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0 is the score. Numerous players standing over the free kick. Digne might fancy a sniff at this one. Understandably, there's one or two others part of the conversation as well. As interestingly, Yuri Tielemans is just having a conversation with Unai Emery. A really intense conversation as well, because Unai Emery is articulating one or 2 points. Now a free kick then that will be taken for Aston Villa. And it's a free kick which Digne, I think, looks favourite to take. Free kick for Aston Villa then. And is it going to be Digne to strike it? Yes, it is. Digne does strike it, but Brentford have bodies pouring in. And in the end, Martinez will pick the ball up right on the halfway line and deal with the situation for Aston Villa. So, gathered now by Tielemans. Tielemans swings the ball to his left-hand side. Eventually the ball is flung into the penalty area, but Flecker was always behind that one. And a comfortable enough save in the end. And it is half an hour on the clock, over half an hour on the clock now. Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0 is the score. Opportunity for Brentford now to build from the back, and they do just that. And really, all the possession that Aston Villa have had in the game, which has been pretty relentless, if truth be told, but it is Brentford who have had the best glimmers at goal in the game so far, you'd have to say. Unai Emery is gesticulating and pounding the touchline, almost for differing reasons. I don't think it'll be too long into the second half before we start to see one or two changes. I think Emery will be frustrated at the lack of cutting edge in the final third. Of course, that Aston Villa have that big game against Lille. It's 2 big games against Lille coming up, but nonetheless, I think when you look at the Premier League table, I don't think Unai Emery would want to rest on his laurels in terms of that top 5 finish. Clearly, Aston Villa are very, very well placed. I mean, they're 12 points ahead of Manchester United as it stands, but they won't want Tottenham to catch them, because it's still not absolutely guaranteed that 5th place in the Premier League equates to a Champions League finish. Aston Villa come forwards now on the left-hand side with Digne, and Digne considered flicking the ball forwards, and Aston Villa once again do gather. Aston Villa with the ball just inside the Brentford half, and they're popping it around very nicely, as they have done all afternoon really, but the fact is they haven't managed to find a way through. Leon Bailey, so often the man who makes things happen for Aston Villa, goes to his left-hand side and finds Konza, and now McGinn will gather, and McGinn is assessing things left and right, and finds Konza once more, and Konza's approaching the penalty area. Konza tried to find a way through, McGinn with the touch, and all of a sudden now Aston Villa are in possession on the left-hand side, and it's collected by Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz pings the ball 5 yards to his right-hand side, and this is a bit more pace in this Aston Villa attack. Here's Leon Bailey, flanked by 2. Leon Bailey just can't quite squirm away from the 2 Brentford defenders. Konsa will edge towards the fringes of the penalty area, and now Tielemans at walking pace again for Aston Villa. Konsa gathers. It's all very, very static, this for Aston Villa. McGinn tries to turn it round the corner, and Leon Bailey has won his side a corner kick, and that'll do for Aston Villa in what is a little bit of a windy day in the Midlands. The flag on the corner flag just flapping around. 33 minutes played. Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0. Bit of pushing and shoving inside the perimeter of the penalty area. Referee coming across to state his authority. And there's a corner kick now for Aston Villa on that right hand side. A chance to get good delivery into the penalty area. It's going to be swung in, and swung in pretty effectively as well, but there's 1 or 2 appeals for a penalty. It's gone the other way, in fact, and Brentford have a free kick, and well, there's Diego Carlos is just asking the question. I mean, I'm not sure there was too much either way in that. I mean, both players were involved in a bit of a scuffle inside the 6-yard box, and that easily could have gone the other way for a penalty, I'd say. It's very difficult for the referee to make head or tails of that, I think. Mentioned those 2 games against Lille. Villa travelling to Arsenal next weekend in the Premier League, then they host Bournemouth, then they're home against Chelsea. before away at Brighton, Liverpool and Crystal Palace. I mean, it's a difficult final few games for Aston Villa. This is the kind of game you feel that they really want to pick up all 3 points in, because home against Bournemouth, of course, they'd be favourites, but then they've got Chelsea, who produced that big win against Manchester United the other night. Away at Brighton, always difficult. Home against Liverpool, who are banging the title race, top of the table, of course. And then they finished by going away to Crystal Palace. So it's going to be a throw-in for Aston Villa on that left-hand side. And Aston Villa do have the ball in the form of Digne. Digne scoops it up towards halfway, and it's helped on now towards Leon Bailey. Is that a free kick for Aston Villa? Yes, it is. One or two Brentford players can't believe it. They don't feel like they're getting the rub of the green this afternoon, but the decision has been made. And it is a free kick for Aston Villa, right inside the centre circle. So Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0 is the score. And Aston Villa have a free kick inside the centre circle. Konsa will gather now on the right hand side. Konsa is just gesticulating that he wanted the ball played to him. Konsa gets it back, and now Diego Carlos does gather and goes back to his goalkeeper. Collected now by the goalkeeper Martinez, and Emi Martinez flicks it out towards Ollie Watkins, who scarcely had a sniff in the game so far. Unai Emery may be making changes, and when you look at the bench, I mean, it'd be interesting to see who he could bring on. I mean, Zaniolo would be a bit of an obvious one, wouldn't he? But to see exactly how it would play out. So Aston Villa have the ball deep inside their own half. McGinn now does gather, and McGinn goes back inside. And Tony, obviously, the obvious one for Brentford potentially. Zaniolo on the bench as well. 77% possession for Aston Villa in the game, but they've done very, very little with it. And that, of course, will frustrate their boss, Unai Emery. Now could be an opportunity for Aston Villa, and the effort on goal by Rodgers was blocked off by a stream of Brentford players. Now it's collected at the back for Aston Villa, and Torres is moving towards the halfway line. Collected once more by Torres. Torres finds Diego Carlos, and now Konsa. Konsa to McGinn. McGinn cutting inside, and McGinn finds Konsa, and Konsa, considered the strike at goal, I think, comes back now to McGinn. And McGinn now floats the ball into the penalty area towards the back stick. Collected by Digne, and it's played now to Tielemans. Tielemans just outside the penalty area. Might fancy this Tielemans. Yuri Tielemans instead keeps it moving. And it is McGinn. McGinn floats the ball into the penalty area. Really good save off the post. Turned away, but turned in. And Aston Villa leads. And it's Ollie Watkins, of course, who bags it. And Aston Villa have created so little in the opening 38 minutes, but they have the moment that matters. And crucially, it is Ollie Watkins who touches Villa in front against Brentford. It all stemmed from a glorious cross into the penalty area from John McGinn. Just beautifully articulated into the box. And when it came off the post, Ollie Watkins was there to tap it home. Well, it was McGinn on the right-hand side, floated the ball into the penalty area. Came off the post initially. And Leon Bailey was there as well. Did the ball go in? Yes, it did, off the post. It was turned in afterwards, but it doesn't matter because Ollie Watkins will claim the goal. It is Ollie Watkins' goal. It's Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0. Well, Leon Bailey was the player who popped it in the back of the net in the end, but McGinn floated it in. It's a really good header from Ollie Watkins. Goalkeeper Flecken pushed it onto the post, but it had crossed the line by the time Leon Bailey popped it in the back of the net. And it's Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0. And so is gathered by Douglas Luiz. Free kick for Brentford now. Well, I thought Leon Bailey might have thought he'd scored there, but the ball had just crossed the line, I think. And confirmation of that, it is Ollie Watkins' goal. And a free kick now for Brentford. "39 minutes on the clock. Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0. And I think Brentford will be really frustrated with this because they haven't done too much wrong in the game. They've managed to restrict Aston Villa to just that one chance, really. And Ollie Watkins bags again. My goodness, the statistics this season have been simply astonishing, really. Ollie Watkins. 23rd goal across all competitions for Ollie Watkins. Premier League goal scoring charts as well. The ball is floated into the penalty area for Brentford. It's certainly something that has been noticed across the board, really, just the quality of Ollie Watkins. Not just the goals he scored, it's the assists as well. I mean, you look at the goal scoring charts in the Premier League, and you look at the fact that, of course, Haaland has 19 goals and 5 assists, but Ollie Watkins now has 17 goals and 10 assists. I mean, magnificent. More than Mo Salah on 16 and 9. Cole Palmer 16 and 8. Now Bournemouth 16 and 3. So, it's very, very impressive. Solanke for Bournemouth, I should say, on 16 and 3. Brentford then with the throw. Throw in into the heart of the Aston Villa penalty area. It's rather a half-hearted shout for a handball. Not going to get a penalty for that, I don't think. Headed back into a dangerous area, and Aston Villa want the offside flag to go up. It didn't go up, and it's now collected by Leon Bailey with a touch towards McGinn, but Brentford will ping the ball back to the edge of the penalty area as we approach half time, and it's all a little bit scrappy in there. Villa eventually managed to get it more substantially clear, and Brentford pick up the pieces midway inside the Villa half, and all of a sudden Villa are back in possession now. McGinn will gather, and well, the referee's blown for a free kick for Aston Villa, but Aston Villa wanted the advantage to be played in the game, and so it is a yellow card which is shown. There's a lovely pirouette inside the penalty area, confirmation that Damsgaard does get a yellow card for just pulling back Douglas Luiz as he was breaking clear, and then McGinn picked up the ball, and McGinn felt as though that should have been advantage played for Aston Villa. Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0. And Aston Villa have a free kick inside the centre circle, gathered by Conter. Conter tries to find McGinn, and all of a sudden Brentford pouring forwards now. Is that a free kick? Yes, it is. Just shy of halfway. Brentford keen to get on with it, and it is a free kick for Brentford right on halfway. A couple of chances in the game, Brentford, but nothing meaningful. I mean, that effort from Reguilon inside the opening 60 seconds was a decent chance. The free kick, of course, as well, and Bumo, but I think we'll see Ivan Toney in the second half. I mean, the suggestion certainly that he's carrying a knock, but as the ball is floated into the penalty area, Martinez will gather. Martinez immediately bowls it out. He's looking toward the run of Ollie Watkins. Didn't quite come off. Now gathered by Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz just outside the centre circle. Douglas Luiz goes to his left-hand side, and Aston Villa collect. Douglas Luiz once again. Douglas Luiz just touches it inside for Digne. Digne collects now for Villa. Gathered by Rodgers on the left-hand side by the corner flag, and Rodgers has won his side a corner kick as we nudge towards half-time in the contest. Well, the ball did cross the line when Ollie Watkins' header was palmed onto the post and then the back of the net before Leon Bailey touched it home. So it's Ollie Watkins' goal, and it is Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0. We approach half-time. They've got a corner kick, a fourth corner kick of the first half, and it's going to be a corner kick now, which is taken short to McGinn, and McGinn helps the ball into the penalty area, and it's back and behind for a corner kick. Another corner kick, as we see there'll be 2 additional minutes at the end of the opening 45. Corner kick for Aston Villa. A corner kick which will be taken from the left-hand side. So Aston Villa with a corner, plenty of movement inside the penalty area, and it is Diego Carlos who's just leading on the post as well. A few physical altercations between the two sets of players, and Brentford wanted a free kick to be awarded there, but the referee, it's very difficult for a referee to see exactly everything that's going on inside the penalty area, and it's a great tussle really between Mbeumo and Diego Carlos every time from a set-piece situation. Throw-in taken quickly by Aston Villa on the left-hand side. Not too long to go in the first half. We're in stoppage time, in fact. It's going to be another corner kick now for Aston Villa. And have a corner kick from the opposing flank. Corner kick now will be taken right-footed. Plenty of bodies inside the penalty area. Just a plastic bag on the pitch now, which is dealt with by Douglas Luiz. Bit of housekeeping. Diego Carlos again inside the penalty area, but the ball is played short to McGinn, and it's floated up now towards the back post, and Brentford with bodies back there, and then the effort on goal is rather sliced from Leon Bailey, but it's sliced so much that it'll actually stay in play, and Aston Villa have got another corner kick from the right hand side this time in the final few seconds of the first half. So it is Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0. Final seconds of the first half. Corner kick will be taken from the right hand side. Diego Carlos is having a chat with the referee. I think he's enjoyed it. I really do. I think he's enjoyed it. The physical battle with Mbeumo, and Zanka has been involved as well, and Zanka and Diego Carlos are pushing and shoving and grabbing each other's shirts, and eventually the ball is flung into the penalty area and it's gathered by Flecken, and Flecken bowls it out very quickly indeed. All of a sudden there could be a break on here for Brentford, and there's a free kick, is there? Yep, there's going to be a free kick here for Brentford, just right on halfway. And Brentford asking the question, why hasn't a yellow card been shown? But in fact the whistle has gone for half-time, and at half-time it is Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0. Ollie Watkins with the goal. In truth, the first half had very, very few chances in the contest, but Aston Villa have been the better side, have much more possession, and through Ollie Watkins lead by a goal to 0 at the interval. having enough to separate the two sides at the interval. In truth, it was the first half where Aston Villa had so much of the ball but just struggled to really create too much with it. And the only real chance they created in the game was that cross from McGinn and a lovely, lovely header from Ollie Watkins off the goalkeeper's hand post. Eventually went in before Leon Bailey bundled it home. But at half-time it is Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0, and as it stands in the Premier League, this result will take Aston Villa up to 4th in the standings on 62 points. It'd be a really big win for them, and it is certainly for Brentford a case of just trying to pick up enough points to keep that gap to the bottom 3. We are up and underway at the start of the second half, and Aston Villa have the ball through McGinn on the right hand side, and Aston Villa are shaping it pretty nicely, and into the penalty area it goes, and Ollie Watkins has it 8 yards from goal on the right hand side. Angles are cute. Ollie Watkins trying to find a way through. Bit of options actually. Ollie Watkins inside, and rather surprisingly chose to go himself. I mean, it's just been an astonishing season, not just selfishly for Ollie Watkins in terms of the goals, but unselfishly in terms of the goals he's created. Great chance now for Aston Villa inside the penalty area, and they make it number 2. It's superbly done by Rodgers. He just cut inside on the right hand side and dispatched to great effect. And Aston Villa, scarcely 60 seconds into the second half, double their advantage, and that has brought the house down at Villa Park. It's really well done by Rodgers. He just cuts inside the penalty area on that right hand side and beautifully drops the shoulder and just manufactures a yard of space to himself, and cleverly left footed just sweeps the ball home. Absolutely nothing Flecken could do. It was nice work initially by Tielemans to just unstitch the Brentford backline, and doesn't Rodgers do well? Yes, there's a deflection if you look at it again on his way through. But nonetheless, it's really well done by Rodgers, and Aston Villa have a bit of breathing space now because they lead by 2-0. Well, it's a really smart goal from Aston Villa, and just what Unai Emery would have wanted, to be honest, at the start of the second half, because it's just the quality that they have, it's the quality that they possess in terms of finding a way through Tielemans to unstitch the Brentford backline. I mean, I think Thomas Frank will be so frustrated with that, won't he? Because he's got his side in at the interval, and I feel as though Brentford, maybe if they could have hung in the game and got Ivan Toney on for the last 20, anything could have happened, but not to be really for Brentford. Still, of course, a huge chunk of the second half to be played, but there's a lot of work to do now at Villa Park, especially when you look at the Aston Villa performances and their home record. So Aston Villa have the ball now with Conser on the right hand side, who keeps it moving for Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey now just pings the ball forwards, but it takes a deflection on it and comes back to Diego Carlos, and Diego Carlos now goes infield towards Douglas Luiz, and Douglas Luiz to his right hand side, and Torres now assessing one or two options, and Torres has the ball on that left hand side and just swings it to the right hand side now, and Conser down the line to Leon Bailey, and Leon Bailey pokes the ball back in field, and there could be an opportunity now inside the centre circle for Aston Villa. Poke forward now, looking for the run of Digne, but gathered by Flecken, and Flecken does collect inside the penalty area, and Flecken just has options left and right, and so the ball is played out to that right hand side, and Brentford will have to work it out from the back. And really, I mean, it's a big ask, isn't it? Now they've got to score 2 goals at Villa Park to Brentford. Didn't really create too much in that first half, but there might have an opportunity now as they pull down the left hand side. Do Thomas Frank's men. It's gathered now by Wissa 30 yards from goal, and Wissa tried to just slip the ball into the penalty area. Not a bad idea, but it didn't quite come off, and now Aston Villa on the breakaway, and McGinn will just wedge the ball forward beautifully for Leon Bailey. Here is Leon Bailey for Aston Villa. It's Leon Bailey inside the penalty area, goes on the outside, angles are cute, and the goalkeeper Flecken did well actually just to gather the ball, and he had to as well, because Leon Bailey was doing so well in terms of just how he was manipulating things and slaloming his way into the penalty. That's actually when Leo Bailey's at his most effective, you feel, when he's just got that little license to run at defenders, and he's really thrived under Unai Emery. It's just the manner in which he's been given the freedom to go out there and perform, and no question that there's so much quality in this Aston Villa side. So it is gathered now by Brentford at the back, and Brentford ping the ball up towards halfway. The ball will come Brentford once more. Gathered now at the back, and one of the main issues for Brentford really has just been we don't have Ivan Toney up there. I mean, there's been a real struggle to make it stick, struggle to ensure that the ball can stay effectively up there, and really been able to get the two wide players connected with the front two. And usually in Thomas Frank's sides, when Brentford do play well, it's because they've got plenty in terms of the way they manage to connect the front two with the two wide players. And I wonder, is Ivan Toney going to be thrown on here perhaps? Here come Aston Villa once more. They're seeking a third goal, which really would kill it, you feel, as a contest. Collected now on the left hand side by Mbeumo, who goes down, and he's going to win a free kick for his side as well. And it's a free kick in a half decent position, and really Brentford, you feel, have got to profit from one of these, because it's just a case of need to find a way somehow to nip back into the game and create a little bit of jeopardy almost for Aston Villa. The goals from Ollie Watkins and Rodgers with his first Premier League goal, a great moment for him to make it 2-0. Free kick then for Brentford, and a chance to load the penalty area, and they'll do just that. And it will be Jensen to clean the ball in, and Jensen's just taking a moment over it and just places it with a bit more deliberation now, and it's gathered by Jensen. It's on the right hand side, 2 yards in from the right touchline, and Jensen, right footed, loops it beyond everyone. It's an absolutely atrocious free kick, unfortunately, from a Brentford perspective, you'd have to say. And it's those kind of positions where Brentford need to find a way to really test this Aston Villa backline. So Aston Villa 2, Brentford 0 is the score. Aston Villa certainly been the better side and taken a couple of chances that have fallen their way. Here come Brentford, just outside the edge of the penalty area though, but Aston Villa in the transition was so dangerous, and they were trying to burst forward there, and they are going to get a free kick as well. Aston Villa, and a yellow card is actually shown, and it's a yellow card that is dished out because McGinn was jumping away really and trying to start the counter. Wissa, to be fair, does come across it, and I think it's a justifiable yellow card, and Wissa was complaining to the referee, but I'm not sure he had too much to complain about. Douglas Luiz keeps it moving on the right hand side. Now McGinn with the touch, and Aston Villa will come forward once again. Gathered now by Brentford, and Brentford have the ball inside their own half, and it's King Long now looking towards well, he does just that. It's Mbeumo who tried to swing it in, but couldn't quite do so, and it's comfortable for Emi Martinez in the Aston Villa goal. And I think really the top two just hasn't quite worked for Thomas Frank's men today, and I wonder, with nearly 54 minutes on the clock, when they're going to go to Ivan Toney, when they're going to start asking the questions of Aston Villa in the game. Let's get anything from this game, you feel like it's got to happen, and got to happen pretty quickly as well. So Aston Villa 2, Brentford 0 is the score. And Aston Villa have a corner kick on their right hand side, which will be taken left footed. They consider taking it quickly, but instead now they're just going to wait a moment or two to swing the ball into the penalty area. And it is McGinn who gathers. McGinn will take this set piece situation. McGinn left footed on the right hand side. John McGinn sweeps it into a pretty good area. If I can get his fingertips on it and palms it away, and the ball just trickle out of play now, I think, for a throw in for Aston Villa on their left hand side. And it was a really good delivery in, made the goalkeeper certainly ask a question or two, and ultimately it goes out of play for a throw in. And forward come Brentford out from the back, and their left back slot, they pump it up towards halfway, but it is a little bit sloppy really from a Brentford perspective, and they just haven't been sharp enough in those kind of areas, I don't think. And for that reason, Aston Villa have been able to dominate so much of the ball in terms of possession. And so it is Aston Villa in possession inside the centre circle. And Aston Villa have it again through Tielemans, and Tielemans does gather and finds Rodgers, who scored the second goal. Aston Villa after a third goal, and the third goal would surely kill things as a contest. Aston Villa down the right hand side, and Leon Bailey as ever. Leon Bailey trying to manufacture a way through. Nobody kicks at the referee. Here's McGinn inside the penalty area. McGinn, and now Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey on his left foot inside the area, snatches a strike away, but it's cleared downfield, and Emi Martinez fully 30 yards out of his goal. It's just orchestrating from the back, and Emi Martinez wedges it to the left hand side. And is that kept in play by Digne? No, it's not. And so it will be a throw in. Aston Villa 2, Brentford 0, the score. 7 minutes on the clock. And still Brentford just haven't been able really to produce too much going forwards, and Aston Villa have taken the 2 moments that have fallen to them really well. And so Aston Villa have got some defending to do here, perhaps. On the left hand side, it's floated into the penalty area, and eventually it is coming off Diogo Carlos and behind for a corner kick. It was nicely done by Wissa, who was just pinging into the box, and I think Diogo Carlos and Torres, the 2 centre-backs for Aston Villa, have been magnificent in just the way they've defended and dealt with the physical threat and the pace as well from the top 2 for Brentford. So, Brentford do have a corner kick, and what can they produce in the game? What can they conjure from a set-piece situation? Not too much so far in the contest, has it? 6 inside the penalty area for Brentford. More arriving now, but the corner kick's a poor one, and Brentford will reprocess the ball all the way back with Flecken. Flecken in goal, pings it out to the left hand side beyond everyone, but it did just take a nick off an Aston Villa head. Took a nick off the head of Digne, and Brentford now near the byline will just hang up the cross. And Wissa was there, and Wissa, I think, another attempt, and the ball is in the back of the net, and Brentford have a lifeline. It wasn't particularly pretty, in fact it... Really now, from absolutely nothing, Brentford have a passage back into the game. It was sloppy from Aston Villa. Cross was hung up towards Wissa inside the penalty area, and eventually the effort on goal was pinged into the penalty area, and it was just stabbed home by Zanka from close range. I'm not sure he knew too much about it, you know. It was Damsgaard who put the ball back into a dangerous area, and he gets it all wrong, in fact, to Zanka, because he swings his right leg at it. It comes off his left boot, and there's a wry smile from Zanka to say, I know it wasn't the best finish, but they all count. All of a sudden it's 2-1. And now another chance for Brentford, perhaps, but the ball is just gone through towards Martinez, and now we've got a bit of a game on our hands, because Brentford got back into the game, and pretty messy, to be honest, in the manner in which they've done it, but they'll absolutely take it. It was almost comical the way Zanka swung the right foot at it, came off his left ankle, I think, and skewed into the back of the net. So it is Aston Villa 2, Brentford 1. Got a half an hour of the game plus stoppage time, of course, left to play. And Brentford have the ball at the back now with Flecken. Now Flecken just on the confines of his penalty area. Opts to go long. Brentford with a bit of head tennis on the left-hand side, and all of a sudden there could be an opportunity for Wiese. Wiese with a touch inside. Wiese once more. Brentford have got the bit between their teeth, and Brentford are pouring forwards on the left-hand side. Two players inside the penalty area, one of which is Mbeumo, who scores a stunner, and Brentford are back on level terms. Well, how about that? In the blink of an eye, Brentford get two. And it's Aston Villa 2, Brentford 2, and my goodness, how quickly a Premier League football match can change. Unai Emery furious on the touchline. Thomas Frank delighted. It was a lovely cross floated into the penalty area, and Mbeumo just swung a boot at it in spectacular fashion. And it's a lovely goal to make it 2 apiece. Brentford have offered very little in the final third, but bang bang, they're back on level terms. Mbeumo just right-footed, controls the volley so well. Ball swung in for the left-hand side, and he just hangs that right boot at it and passes it in almost past Martinez. It's Aston Villa 2, Brentford 2. What a cracking contest we've got on our hands here. Really, really well done. Wonderful how it was brilliantly swung into the penalty area. And just magnificent the manner in which Mbeumo just helped it home. Does so well, doesn't it? Really nicely done. And this game has turned so quickly. And Aston Villa really potentially only have themselves to blame, because they really just haven't been able to control the game sufficiently in the second half. Haven't been able, have they, to control things, I don't think. And it's a moment that Thomas Frank and Brentford will be absolutely delighted by. And they're back on level terms in quite some style, you'd have to say. It is Aston Villa 2, Brentford 2. Aston Villa ping the ball down the line on the left-hand side. It is all set for a grandstand finish here. Gathered on the right-hand side now for Brentford, and it's not quite adequately dealt with, and the challenges are really flying in now. It is a fabulous demonstration of just how the game's going in terms of the quality that we've seen. And there's a free kick now for Brentford in a very good position too. Free kick then for Brentford. Aston Villa 2, Brentford 2, the score. Goals from Watkins and then Rodgers. And then in the second half, Zanka and then Mbeumo making it 2 apiece after Rodgers had scored to make it 2-0. Just moments into the second half. So, a free kick for Brentford in a very good position. Free kick which Mbeumo is certainly standing over and sort of fairly confident of taking this one on himself. Free kick which will be taken by Brentford in a really good position. Central it is, and Buemo is standing over it. One or two others also interested in having a dig at this one. It will be a free kick which is eventually just clipped over the crossbar and it goes out of play for a corner kick. Just take a nick on its way through, and so it is there's certainly the suggestion that Brentford have got the bit between their teeth now, don't they? Really do have the bit between their teeth, and there's just the incredible manner in which they've managed to create opportunities in the game. Corner kick now for Brentford then on the right hand side. The corner kick will be floated into the penalty area through a mass of bodies, and eventually it is just clipped out of play. There's a real tension now to the contest. There's a real sense of jeopardy almost in the game, because the way in which they've just managed to turn this around, Brentford, so impressive. Acquitted themselves in the second half. They've managed to find a way through. On 2 occasions, the ball is back inside the penalty area. I think when you look at just the way in which really Brentford have played in the game, the way in which they've managed to find a way back into things, it's got to go to Thomas Frank. Aston Villa 2, Brentford 2 the score. 66 minutes on the clock, and now there is an opportunity for Aston Villa to get the ball inside the centre of the park. Not so though, who's worked so hard today gets a touch on it. Aston Villa now in possession. All of a sudden it's gathered inside the centre circle, and Aston Villa will once again collect the ball, and Damsgaard wins a free kick for his side, and there's a free kick in a very good position here for Brentford. Ball is floated into the penalty across the face of goal, and it's turned in by Wissa. What a turnaround! Astonishingly, Brentford from 2-0 down to 3-2 up. Absolutely magnificent. What a turnaround this has been. What a result. And astonishingly, Brentford are leading by 3 goals to 2. Unai Emery looks crestfallen. Thomas Frank is bouncing up and down on the touchline in jubilation. It was Route 1 stuff really initially. The free kick taken quickly. And my goodness, didn't they do well? Because Wissa, who's been dangerous all game, was lurking inside the penalty area, crossed the face of goal. There was no one near him. Absolute tap in. And Brentford are leading 3-2 at Villa Park. And my goodness, this has been quite some turnaround. It is vintage Premier League action, really. When you look at the quality, the absolute quality that Brentford have got, and the mentality, the character, something really special brewing. Wissa is just in conversation with the referee, but my goodness, they've done so well, Brentford. And it's been a season of comebacks in the Premier League in many, many ways. And this is one of the best out there, you feel, in terms of the quality on display. And it is Aston Villa 2, Brentford 3. Ball is played back to the goalkeeper, Emi Martinez, who launches it long. So, look at the absolute fancy they've got, and look at the way that Aston Villa took that 2-goal lead into the game. Just the fact they haven't been able to
find a way. Really incredible. A little bit sloppy, a little bit of complacency, mentality as well. And Aston Villa now trying to make it 3-3. They have the ball very centrally and they want a free kick, and the referee's actually given the free kick in favour of Brentford. Brentford now will have an opportunity to find a way to clear their line. To just an astonishing turnaround, really astonishing turnaround, you'd have to say. It's going to be a substitution as Zaniolo, confirmation of the substitution as Zaniolo comes on for Rodgers. So it is Aston Villa 2, Brentford 3, and Aston Villa desperately trying to find a way to get back on level terms in the game. Quite been able to control the game in the second half as they did in the first, and that'll be a source of massive frustration, you'd have to say, I think, for the way in which just haven't been able to anything like the same good quality possession as they did in the first half. And is that going to be a corner kick for Brentford? Yes, it is. Fantastic how they've managed, Brentford, to turn this one around. So now it is nodded away by Brentford, and forward again towards the front two have been simply superb today, haven't they? Buemo and Wissa for Brentford. In which they've used their physicality, their strength, they've caused so many problems for Aston Villa in the second half. And well, when Rodgers scored to make it 2-0, you really did feel as though Aston Villa were going to be very comfortable in terms of moving away with the ball and producing a comfortable victory, but hasn't turned out that way at all, has it? And it's just the real quality of this Brentford side. Really a game of two halves. Villans is now down, and it's Villa 2, Brentford 3, and one or two Brentford players now just having a word with Thomas Frank, who will be absolutely delighted, obviously, with how the side have performed in this second period. What makes this Brentford side so special is just the way they've managed to respond so impressively. They got a bit of luck initially, you'd say, with the goal from Zanka, because he swings the boot at it, swings his right boot at it, comes off his left boot. But the other two goals from the two centre forwards, absolutely superb, no doubt about that. And wow, we've really got something special in terms of what we've seen out there today from Brentford. But this game is not done just yet. Aston Villa trying to find a passage back into things, and it's collected now by Torres, and Torres goes to his right hand side, and all of a sudden Tielemans will float it into the penalty area, and Brentford will look to clear away, and it's helped down the line by Brentford, but the ball is out of play, and Aston Villa now have a throw. It's been a topsy-turvy, wonderful encounter. In fact, it's going to be a corner kick for Aston Villa, and a corner kick that they will launch into the penalty area. Bodies back there though to alleviate the initial danger, and Aston Villa in possession once again, trying to keep the ball down the line, but Flecken is there to deal with it, and so it is going to be a goal kick for Brentford, and Unai Emery is just kind of scratching his face on the touchline. He can scarcely believe what he's seen today. Some big games coming up as well in the next 10 days to Aston Villa, with the 2 games against Lille, and then a game against Arsenal as well. So Aston Villa 2, Brentford 3. What can they do in the game? Can they produce something, Aston Villa? There is still a chunk of the game left to be played. Viola now on for Rodgers, and Aston Villa coming forward for Brentford were there initially, and Konsa with the touch, and Aston Villa pouring forwards now just outside the penalty, and McGinn tries the pirouette, can't quite do so, and Brentford will try and break away, and Wissa does gather, and Wissa lays it off intelligently, and all of a sudden here come Brentford again. They're looking for their 4th goal of the game. That would be quite something, wouldn't it? It is now collected by Wissa, who goes down and wins a free kick for his side. And so it is going to be a substitution, double substitution now for Brentford in the game, and Guillon is the player who is coming off, and Lewis Potter will take his place. So substitution for Brentford. They got a free kick as well. Free kick in a promising position too. And referee just having to step in and deal with 1 or 2 things. It is Aston Villa 2, Brentford 3, 76 minutes on the clock. Free kick now, which will be launched forward by Brentford. Aston Villa are playing a very high line to try to catch Brentford offside, and the flag is now up against Damsgaard, and Emi Martinez wants to take this one quickly, and understandably so. Well, Villa taking a huge gamble in playing such a high line, but very effectively too. And here is an opportunity now for Wissa. Wissa keeps the ball moving to the right hand side, and it is gathered now by Buemo. He flicks it in turn towards Schlepper, doesn't quite come off, and it's out of play for a goal kick for Aston Villa. And the Aston Villa supporters are very subdued inside Villa Park today, and you can understand why, because having taken a 2-goal lead, the absolute last thing they would have expected would be for Brentford to score 3 goals without reply. Just an astonishing turnaround, really. A chance now for Brentford, and Wissa just didn't quite get his feet sorted. And Aston Villa moved the ball up towards halfway. Collected once again and gathered now by Konsa. There's going to be a substitution. Looks as though Diaby's going to come on now for Aston Villa. Collected on the left-hand side by Digne. Digne helps it forward to the edge of the penalty and wants it back. And Digne now will float the ball into a pretty good area. And bounces to Leon Bailey, and the cut back was a half-decent one, looking for Douglas Luiz. Aston Villa wanted a decision to go in their favour, but it didn't go in their favour. And now Buemo, who's inside the penalty area, cuts back, and he was looking for support from Buemo. And Aston Villa increasingly are going to be in danger as they push forward, seeking an equalising goal. Brentford are going to really test them, you feel, on the counter. And so here comes Aston Villa, and here comes Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz lays it across now for Tielemans, and Tielemans wanted the ball back inside, gathered by Konsa. Played in now towards Watkins. Ollie Watkins lays it off, and the ball is played back for Tielemans. And Tielemans finds the run of Torres, and Torres has the ball 30 yards from goal, and it's collected now at the right hand side by Leon Bailey, and Konsa will gather, and Konsa lifts it to his right hand side, and the ball is flung into the penalty area, and it's all the way back now with Brentford goalkeeper Fleck, and Aston Villa though will come again. Aston Villa have the ball through Diego Carlos. Diego Carlos lays it to his right hand side. 10 minutes to play. Aston Villa desperately searching for an equalising goal. Tielemans goes to his right hand side. All this being played just outside the Brentford penalty area. Now Konsa and Leon Bailey involved, and all of a sudden Aston Villa have plenty of bodies inside the penalty area. In comes the cross, deflection on it. Goalkeeper could only get a touch on it, and Ollie Watkins finishes, and it is 3-3. What an afternoon of Premier League football at Villa Park, and Aston Villa are back on level terms in this topsy-turvy, helter-skelter contest. It's Ollie Watkins, of course, the man of the hour, who rises highest and truest inside the confines of the penalty area, and he just rose so true. Goalkeeper Fleck and Kane might have got the faintest of fingertips on it as he rose, but it was all about Ollie Watkins. It's a clean goal. It's another goal for Ollie Watkins, and Villa Park is jumping again. It's Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3. What a contest, what an afternoon. Some game this has been. And Ollie Watkins again. There's no stopping him, is there? It's just a goal-scoring machine these days for Aston Villa. Wissa comes off and Damsgaard is on. And is there a winner in this game? Well, both sides will feel as though there might just be, you know. It's 3-3, incredibly. Ollie Watkins again, scoring for Aston Villa. So, the throw in for Brentford on the left-hand side. It's going to be another substitution for Aston Villa, potentially. And does Unai Emery believe his side can go on and nick it? I bet he does, with Villa Park on their feet like this. It's gathered by Douglas Luiz, and Douglas Luiz has the ball on that right hand side, collected now by Tielemans, and Tielemans goes to his right hand side, and all of a sudden Leon Bailey's inside the penalty area. Cutback's not a bad one, drops invitingly, but Brentford have bodies back there to just deal with things, and Aston Villa regather possession with Torres, and you can feel the sense of momentum around this ground now as Villa desperately seek the winning goal. They have the ball on the right hand side, and it's collected by McGinn, and McGinn feeds it off to Diego Carlos, and everyone's behind the ball now for Brentford, and Tielemans has a touch, and all of this has been played on the right hand side for Aston Villa, and the ball is floated into the penalty area, but Brentford have the players back there to clear it. So Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3 is the score. In a crazy game at Villa Park this afternoon. Digne now with the throw. Digne pings it down the line, and it's going to be Aston Villa who, you feel in the remaining 6 minutes or so here, will be the side who really fancy their chances of trying to nick it. Brentford poke it up towards halfway, but can't quite make it stick up there again, can Brentford. They have the ball on that right hand side, and are they going to get a free kick? Yes, they are. Aston Villa aren't happy at all. Diego Carlos is asking the question of the referee, so it is going to be a free kick for Brentford, and a free kick they could really do with as well. I'll be really pleased with this, because it's a free kick in a good position, chance to feed the ball into the penalty area, and Jensen is standing over the set piece situation. So Jensen will take it, and Jensen's just suggesting that one or two Villa players are a little bit too tight in, and there's going to be a substitution here as Buemo is coming off for Jensen, and Buemo's worked really, really hard and bagged his goal today. Buemo is off then, and Jensen is off as well. It looks as though Mope is coming on, so too Onyeka. So double substitution for Brentford. They made all 5 substitutions now, and can that result in Brentford nicking a winning goal here? It's going to be a free kick which Lewis Potter will dangle into the penalty area. Really lovely flight and delivery on it, but just couldn't quite find a way. Now Leon Bailey's bursting away down the right hand side, but a very important touch sees the ball go out of play, and the ball is out of play for a throw in. And Aston Villa have the ball now on the right hand side. It's scooped into the penalty area beyond everyone though. Regathered now by Aston Villa, and Ollie Watkins, who's on a hat-trick, will just glide inside, and Ollie Watkins keeps it moving, and Aston Villa are moving it pretty sharply on the right hand side. Now Leon Bailey with the cut back, and Brentford with bodies back there, and Brentford eventually will just about manage to bring it away. Brentford's have the ball at the back, and it's scooped a little bit longer, and Aston Villa will come again. There is just a sense now that it's Aston Villa who have their foot on the gas, and Aston Villa who will potentially fancy nicking this right at the death before 3. 3-3 the score, and what has been an astonishing game of football. Ollie Watkins with a brace, Rodgers with one for Aston Villa, his first Premier League goal, Buemo, Wissa and Zanka with the goals for Brentford. Now a position for Aston Villa to utilise on that right hand side, and they have the ball, can't quite dig the ball into the penalty area, and so it is out of play for a throw in for Aston Villa, which will be taken by Konsa. 1 or 2 appeals for a free kick. It's gone in Brentford's favour, and so it is a free kick for Brentford right near their own corner flag. 87 minutes on the clock. Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3. It's been some game at Villa Park this afternoon. Ball is launched long, and it's scattered once again now by Brentford. And Ivan Toney was very nearly trying to poke the ball through there, but it didn't quite come off, and Zaniolo will move away with the ball for Aston Villa. And Zaniolo now for Villa. Zaniolo just rather miscues the attempted cross, and Aston Villa are back in possession. Digne has it. Digne goes to his right hand side and finds Douglas Luiz. And Diego Carlos now. Diego Carlos to Konsa. Konsa to Leon Bailey, begins inside the penalty area, begin twisting and turning, and Leon Bailey tries to help it in, and Leon Bailey just trying to find a way through this way and that. So it's gathered again by Leon Bailey, who helps it into the penalty area beyond everyone, and Digne will keep it alive, stab towards the back post. Brentford with enough bodies back there just about to alleviate the danger, and away come Brentford's. But Aston Villa win the ball back, and it is Aston Villa inside the penalty area, and Flecken's got something on it in the end. And as we approach the 90-minute mark, Aston Villa continuing to have very, very good opportunities to find a way through. It was Tielemans inside the penalty area. Tielemans who cut it back, and Blecken actually with a really, really good save. So it's the corner kick which Digne will take. Digne from that left-hand side. It's going to be swung in now for Aston Villa. Swung into the penalty area. Flicked on. Blecken gets a touch on it. Might prove to be sufficient. Zaniolo keeps it alive. And Douglas Luiz goes to his right-hand side and Tielemans. And now the ball is played back into the penalty area. And the effort on goal is spun over the crossbar in the end from Digne. In truth, it was a really difficult technique. Would have been a really difficult goal. But it's another half-decent chance, you'd have to say, but Aston Villa not taking. It was McGinn who swung it into the penalty area, and Digne trying the acrobatic overhead, just couldn't quite keep it down. But this game is absolute drama right until the last. A couple of changes now, as Digne, Bailey and Tielemans are the players who go off, and Moreno, Diaby and Duran are the players who come on instead. So it is going to be 7 minutes of added on time at the end of the 90, and 7 minutes is absolutely more than enough time for one of these two sides to possibly pinch it. Unai Emery is absolutely furious on the touchline, you know. He's making his point, very much making his point to 1 or 2 on the field of play. 90 seconds in the allocated 7 minutes. Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3. If you're just joining us now, you've missed an absolute cracker, but you'll still be on hand to listen to the very final moments in the game and what could be an astonishing finish. It's gathered now on that left-hand side for Brentford. Raking pass, trying to dink it into the penalty area. Eventually Aston Villa managed to scramble it away. Either side have played with much fluency in the second half, such as the chaotic nature of the game, really. And Moreno will see the ball out of play. Ball is hung up now for Aston Villa. Gathered by Zaniolo, who's been busy since coming on. Zaniolo helps it down the line on the left-hand side. Back into the penalty area it goes. And Aston Villa have it once more. And it's gathered now. There's appeals for handball, but it will be an Aston Villa corner. And Moreno's been busy down that left-hand side too, trying to make things happen for Aston Villa. So, Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3. And collected on the left-hand side by, well, it's cleared eventually by Duran, and now it's gathered once again by, well, Tony wants a free kick to be given in his favour. So it is gathered by Brentford on the left hand side, but Aston Villa quickly back in possession, and it's collected now on the left hand side for Brentford. It's an opportunity, you feel, for Aston Villa now to come forwards and try and find the moment that would separate the two sides and produce what would be a real grandstand finish in the game. So it is Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3. Ollie Watkins with a brace in the game, and Rodgers also scoring for Aston Villa. Brentford with 3 of their own. Wissa, Buemo, and then Zanka scored 2. So it's been that kind of game at Villa Park, and my goodness, how many of those kind of games have we seen in the Premier League this season, by the way. It's just absolute quality in terms of the consistency of high quality football. Consistency has been in terms of quality, and it is Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3, and all of a sudden it's Aston Villa pouring down the right hand side, and it's an opportunity now to fling the ball into the penalty area, but Flekken will gather, and Flekken does gather, and we are very close to approaching the climax of the game now. And I think on balance, really, when you assess it all, a point might just be a fair result in the end for both sides. It is Flekken who smashes it long. Throw in now taken by Brentford just outside the penalty area, and Ivan Toney was trying to find a way through, he couldn't do so. And the ball is back now with Brentford on the left hand side. It's gathered midway inside the Aston Villa half. Free kick has been awarded, and Brentford now have a set piece situation. And there's going to be a yellow card here for Douglas Luiz, and he's going to be suspended for the game against Arsenal, and that is a big blow for Aston Villa. He's a key player, isn't he, Douglas Luiz, and he can't have any complaints because he dangles out that right leg. Just had eyes on the ball, but it's a late challenge. It's the correct decision by the referee, and Douglas Luiz knew straight away that's ball is floated into the penalty area, surely the last chance saloon for either side. And it is Brentford who have the ball inside the penalty area, and Aston Villa rather grateful that eventually the ball is squirmed away and regathered now at the back and on the right hand side. And well, Brentford wanted the decision to go in their favour, and all of a sudden it's a little bit messy inside the penalty area, but the free kick goes Aston Villa's way, and that might just be that in terms of the result, because Emi Martinez has gathered the ball, and he might just feel as though in a game which has been incredibly topsy-turvy, a real Premier League classic, as there has been so many times this season at Villa Park, but with Aston Villa's got big games to come, and there does go the final whistle. Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3, a really intriguing contest where it was topsy-turvy. Aston Villa had a 2-goal lead, and then all of a sudden Brentford got it back to 3-2 up. I mean, it was an astonishing game, really, as Thomas Frank wanders on the field. In fact, the whistle has gone for half-time, and at half-time it is Aston Villa 1, Brentford 0. Ollie Watkins with the goal. In truth, the first half had very, very few chances in the contest, but Aston Villa 5 plays for Brentford. It's a precious point really in their bid for survival, and they look comfortably clear of the bottom 3 now, don't they? Full time Villa Park, Aston Villa 3, Brentford 3.